We gotta allow that.
What, no, backlit.
It started.
Welcome everyone to the City of Shelbyville Mayor City Council Study Session. And it is September the 3rd, 2024. It's about 6 p.m. And we want to begin our agenda tonight with public comments. Lisa, do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir. The first one signed up tonight is Joanne Bassel.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. I'm Joanne Bassel. I'm here tonight on behalf of Bedford County Listening Project. We will be having a fall forum for the people on the city council that are running for re-election. So anybody that's running for election for city council this year. So that includes people that are not currently sitting on city council. Invitations will be forthcoming. I just wanted to give everybody the heads up. It'll be October 19th. And the forum portion of that will start at 2 p.m. All city council is, of course, welcome to attend, but we will be specifically holding the forum for people that are running for either re-election or election to city council. So I just wanted to give everybody the heads up. And hopefully next time I'll have the invitations done and ready and I can hand those out. But if anybody has any questions, you can email us or track me down. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
What is
Thank
that?
you, Joanne.
What
Saturday, October 19th at 2 p.m.
No, that's Alabama.
I made sure very purposely to check and go, okay, Alabama plays, then we need to make sure Henry can't watch the Alabama.
Already supposed to be in Knoxville.
Yeah, and since you mentioned that date, some of us will be in at a governor's conference.
Yeah.
17th, 18th, and 19th, I think, yeah.
Hopefully
Thank you,
most
Joanne.
people can come. Thank you.
All right, Lisa, next.
Next is Scott, but Scott, you're going to speak at the agenda item as the representative for the developer. And Richard Shaw is the last person signed up.
Good evening, Mr. Shaw.
Hi, my name is Richard Shaw, and I'm here representing me, basically. I just wanted to talk briefly about perceptions in the community from what I'm hearing. And none of this is going to be new to you all by any means, but the perceptions of growth and development of this community going on right now. Obviously, you all know it's staggering, the growth that we're experiencing right now. That said, for every person such as myself and others to take the time to do the research and look for the information, there's thousands of people out there that don't know where to go. They don't know where to find information. And so it's based on rumors and guessing and what they heard down the street. I've been in contact with Thomas, who has been very gracious about helping me with navigate this a little bit. I first became interested in this during a public neighborhood meeting for what is now called Fairfield Point. It's the 350 plus planned development or proposed development off of Fairfield Pike. It was well attended by the neighborhood, but it was one of the few times that we really had a chance to, without going to a city council meeting or a planning meeting, to actually interact with the developers, interact with the planning manager, and those kinds of things. And it was very helpful. It provided us a good forum for dialogue. And I wanted to say that kind of thing is very helpful. And I would encourage the city and the planning department to be aware that those voices are out there that are concerned about so many things regarding growth and development. yet they don't know how to get here. They don't know how to get the information. I think that, if there's things that can be considered for public information sessions, perhaps one within each ward every quarter or something like that, just to invite the public, maybe have the planning department there, the representative from the ward, and just say, is there any information that you need across the board? Or perhaps the council person for each ward puts out a newsletter every quarter or every month saying, here's what's going on in your neighborhoods. There is a perception from most of the people that I interact with that strategic planning does not happen in Shelbyville. It just does not happen. Examples are, when the manufacturing at the last council meeting, the manufacturing expansion next to the Cartwright Elementary School. Why is a big manufacturing plant going next to a school? Fairfield Pike resurfacing. This is me basically just summarizing what they said. We don't need a resurface. We need shoulders. We need sidewalks. What is a resurfacing going to do to save traffic congestions, safety in regards to the school?
Mr. Shaw, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
Your
fine. I'm
time is
done.
up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just wanted to point that
say
out.
something.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shaw, for your comments, and we are looking at strategic planning. It's coming from all directions. We're getting developers from all over, local as well as out of the city. Our planning department and all of the city council, we have had to make some tough decisions. And Fairfield Pike getting it resurfaced, we're glad to do that. We had some people complaining that they couldn't tell because of striping on the road, which side of the road they were on and all that. Right of way has to be purchased to widen that road, and that is for the future, isn't it? But the future, we're looking at that, sidewalks inside and things like that. Government moves slowly because of the amount of dollars it takes to do those things and making those purchases from some homeowners. Some homeowners don't want to lose that right away in front of their property. So it's very difficult in those situations. But I do appreciate your comments, and hopefully you've seen our public meetings on video, and we try to get things out there. I hope you can understand we're trying to do the best job we can to get that information out. But I think that's a good idea that you're talking about, maybe once a quarter having a meeting for each ward and things like that. Maybe kind of like a town hall meeting or an open meeting so people could ask questions. Okay, anyone else have anything to say?
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about you may have signed up. There's nobody else signed up.
Okay, all right. Since we don't have any more public comments, we'll ask for our city manager to give his update at this time. Mr. Scott Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. The Rails to Trail survey has the process to get the survey, which leads into us doing the railroad banking and everything else on the railroad property running through town, has been initiated. We're going to be doing the RFQs, and we're working through purchasing on that. And this is something the Bedford County Railroad Authority has really endorsed and been pushing. The Riverview District property is scheduled to be closed on September 12th. And we did have a closing this past Thursday.
Yes.
This past Thursday on the airport property behind the feed store. So work has started once again on the airport improvement plan. And before I turn it over to our chief of police, I do want to congratulate Tom Batchelor for becoming our planning and community development director, being named that, and also Trevor, our parks and recreation director. We appreciate both of you coming part of the leadership team. And with that being said, I'd like to ask Chief Jan to please step up and give us some information on the flock camera system.
Yes, sir.
Chief?
City manager's asked us to compile a report on our findings that we're doing on our flock cameras. We have 2 of those cameras installed in the city. Since August the 14th, we've had multiple alerts from the flock cameras. We had 18 sex offender hits, 1 stolen vehicle hit, 6 violent person hits, 4 order protection hits, 3 wanted persons, 1 stolen license plate, and 1 missing person. Now, we just got the hits on these. We followed up on some of these that we were able to, and some of them we weren't able to. But on August the 19th, 2024, Lowe's reported felony thefts from an individual whose vehicle was identified by the flock camera, which led to the identity and arrest of that suspect. And on August the 26th, the Shelbyville Police Department received a flock alert regarding a stolen vehicle out of Coffee County. The vehicle had been entered into NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Center, the day before. Our patrol officers were able to intercept that stolen vehicle and take the driver into custody within minutes of the alert. And then on August 21st, we received another flock alert hit of a stolen license plate. Patrol was able to intercept that vehicle, which led to recover the stolen tag and the driver arrested on multiple charges. So it's been giving us, now some of these hits are the same one, maybe multiple times, that goes through those cameras. But that's our information we have at the present time.
Any questions for the chief? It's like that new technology is working
It works
really well. And
Mr. Mayor, now are these the terminal cameras that
Yes.
we're using?
Yes.
Okay.
thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Scott, have you had anything? Okay. All right. We'll now go to our discussion items. And the first one is our local share of local parks and recreation fund grant. And we'll ask Scott to tell us about that. Scott?
As y'all are aware, we did receive the local parks and recreation fund grant from the Tennessee Department of Environmental Conservation. The award from the state is $2.5 million, and the match is a 50-50. So the city is required to do the $2.5 million match if need be. However, when this motion was passed, the actual motion was amended to request that Bedford County share in the matching contribution substantially. And the roll call vote was had and approved by unanimous roll call vote. So the reason I bring this before the council tonight, we would like to prepare a resolution formally requesting that Bedford County join us in this endeavor. We've done a little research. We do have an agreement between the city of Shelbyville and the Board of Education in Bedford County, allowing mutual beneficial use. They use our facilities, but at the same time, we also use several of their facilities for our youth ones. So with council, without objection, we'll prepare a resolution for next week's consideration.
Discussion on that?
In going beyond just what you formally have found on the school system and the athletics programs that are using our facilities, the general opinion is that roughly half of anything that's used out there to direct parks and recreation are residents outside the city of Shelbyville. So we've been putting that tab 100% ever since it was created. So I just had to make sure I put that point in there, not just focusing on the students or those athletic programs that are used.
Good point. Anyone else? Okay, let's move to number 2, the request to purchase city property, tax map 0908 and parcel 33.12. Scott, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a small piece of property that adjoins the senior citizens property. And we have received a request from Cooper Steel to purchase that small tract. And unfortunately, Ginger was not able to attend tonight, but we did meet both with Cooper Steel officials as well as our internal staff And the determination needs to be, if we want to do a direct sale for economic development in accordance to our, purchasing policy, have an open bid process, or simply not sell it at all. And we just need direction from council on how to proceed.
Any thoughts on that?
There was a copy of the Cooper Steel letter in your packet
Right.
that explained the reason that they were requesting to purchase it. They've already purchased several other parcels around it, and they're expanding their fabrication facilities, which will create 122 new jobs, and they want to use that parcel to kind of connect to what they've already purchased and give them a way for the trucks to come in and a wider range is what the purpose of it was.
But to do it right, it's gotta be a bid process, either bid it or keep it.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a bid process. When we receive a request like this, and unfortunately Lori's not here tonight either, but in the past, we have sold property when someone requested it like that. We hadn't had any other requests for it. Now, of course, the council can do whatever they want. They can sell it outright as, you know, they've asked, or they can, you know, request a bid process.
Does it have a value, estimated value?
In the, according to Cooper Steel, in their research, the Bedford County Tax Assessor's Office shows that the land market value is $27,800. They went on to say that they are prepared to make a more than reasonable offer for that property and are requesting that the city entertain this proposal.
Bedford County School System is not interested in that property. Aren't they gonna move their facility, the, central office out to the TCAT building when TCAT moves, out on Murfreesboro Highway to the new TCAT facility? And there's also a TCAT, that's where their, over the road trucking is right next to that. Now, this property's right here, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Is Cooper Steel interested in these buildings too? They've already bought those, okay, okay. So they would have that entire block out there.
So is the senior citizen center like in block 33 there or something? 33? Is that what? Trying to get my bearings.
Have you got a slide on that,
The
Tom?
senior citizen
Yeah,
is,
I'm looking,
Yes.
looking up.
the senior citizen is 33, yeah. Yeah. And this 3303 is where they've already bought and combined and intended to actually build the facility. And then they bought these to kind of make a, you know, way in and out, the way I understood it.
I think we ought to need to try to oblige the company that's gonna at least hire local people. You know, we spent millions out at Duck Stand, but you know, just a local company that's, I just can't see why we wouldn't be agreeable to work out a price and sell it. I don't see why the city would need it for anything. I see no reason why we would need it.
Yeah, I didn't think we would need it. I didn't know what Bedford County School System. But I see where it's at located, and since they bought that other, I don't know that they would probably use it either. Do we need to put it out for public notice, or do we just?
Wow.
Ginger's not here tonight, our lawyer, attorney is not here tonight. She's not feeling well.
You want to call?
I think based on our recent practice, that what we've done, like with the, Kyle building and things up on the square, we requested proposals, sealed bids, to
Right.
whatever you want to call them,
Right.
that would satisfy the bidding requirements without going to a public auction situation. So that's sort of been our practice in the past, recent past, to do that, and then the council could decide which bid they want to accept.
And I think that's what Bob had mentioned, and I agree with I agree with that. Anybody else agreeable to that?
I think protocol. And did you mention this is primarily for trucking? I mean, trucks will be in and out of that.
I think I don't want to speak for them, but my understanding was it would be used to go along with the other pieces that they have purchased right next to it to make a better entrance and exit.
Yeah, it appears to be that what they're wanting to do is create a bigger radius so that their trucks can actually enter onto that road.
It's only JG Hilton, Hillcrest right there, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, there's residential across the street, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, where are you talking about the trucks coming from? Are they coming from up on Hillcrest, where that property is up there?
Eagle Boulevard is a truck route that goes through there,
Okay.
so they could be coming from anywhere,
Okay.
usually.
They were talking about.
Usually Stanley, yeah. They would be turning in more, I think, on that there where this property is, it would help the trucks turn in, and that is, I believe, J.G. Hilton help right there. So to allow the trucks to turn in there easier. Right now, if the trucks tried to turn in, they would take up both lanes and still have issues trying to get in there.
Okay.
So it would, that's what we believe it's for. Makes sense on where it's located because they had communicated with me before of trying to tie into J.G. Hilton, and I told them the only way that they could do it is if they improved that road in order to handle the trucks. So this appears to be that, but we'll look into it a little bit more.
It does state in the letter that they sent us with the request that the purchase of the subject parcel from the city of Shelbyville is essential for future growth and improvement of road access.
I knew we'd work with them up there on Hillcrest and over to the railroad and those things like that. What's your feelings, council?
I feel comfortable letting the city manager proceed with
Yeah.
Okay.
getting it done, and bringing back the result to us.
Everybody else okay with that? Okay. All right, agreeable to that then. All right, thank you, council. All right, number 3 is the camera system for the council chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. I've asked IT director to do a brief presentation. Our camera system, we've had some concerns voiced about the quality of the audio, the video being such a shotgun blast instead of coming in on you all when they're speaking. So with council mayor's permission, I'm gonna ask Kate to give a brief demonstration.
Hey, if you would, please.
Evening. So, as Scott said, I was asked to look into some options for us to have better quality, a little more focus. And I came up with two different systems. The first one is what the county has used. So less robust as we have, as much need, but the basic idea is the same as what they have. It's $92,000, but can be broken across 5 years, but it comes with several things that integrate with other products we were already working towards, such as voting. It has displays for all of y'all. So when we're trying to show you something, instead of having to squint at the TV, there'll be monitors on each table for you to be able to see more clearly what they're talking about. Like you said, better audio and video quality will be wired mics instead of this wireless system. And the cameras will be mounted in the ceiling. They'll be 4K. They'll track to whoever's mic has been activated, which we have a little demonstration of how that works here. And that would include overlays. So when you activate your mic and it zooms to you, it automatically throw like your name or your reward and other information at the bottom of it. But that's, like I said, there's voting. It'll let us have digital voting. We can export to the sites. That's a product that Lisa has been working along with going to Municode and other initiatives, so it would tie in with that. The other cheaper option, but with far less options, is what is known as a Meeting Owl. It is similar to the disc you have there that does audio, only does video as well. It tracks based on voice instead of microphone. And it's still just a central mic. You would still have the current audio we have now. It wouldn't change anything there, but It works on a principle simply. It tries to detect who's talking. It has a 360-degree camera, and as someone talks, it will pan around and try to zoom in. The major drawback here is it's really designed for conference rooms. So this room's a little large, a little echoey, and it doesn't differentiate between y'all and anybody back here. So if anybody back here is talking, it will try to look at them just as well as it will you. So, but it's about $2,000 for the device and another couple grand to get it installed and wired properly. So it is a cheaper alternative, but obviously less. And that's
And the first one was what, 92,000?
92,000, but they'll lease it over the 5-year period.
5 years?
Yeah, they'll do it over 5 years.
Okay. Questions for Cade while he's here? Okay, Cade, thank you.
Yes, sir.
My only concern is it scares the people of Shelbyville if they do a close-up on me.
Mayor, I feel the same like that.
I hear we're spending 92 grand.
That's
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sure is. Something to think about. Any other comments on that, questions? Dave or Scott, either one?
Well, I don't like spending 92,000 either, but today's technology with people, what they're expecting is news instantly. To watch us online, it would dramatically improve the quality. Yeah, you're gonna spend 92,000, but we're gonna spend 92,000 on
And we have
some
received those
technology like
comments.
that over the next 5 years. Anyway.
We've received comments that some folks can't hear or they can't
Yeah.
see who's talking and those kind of things like that. So it's something for us to think about. We don't have to make that decision tonight, do we?
No, sir.
Okay.
Both options, well, actually 3 options. Number 1 will be the one system, then we'll have the second, less expensive, less effective system, and then the third option be keep it as it is.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Cade and Scott both. All right, airport ground leases is our next item, number 4, and that's DeWeese and Quigley. And Paul, our director of the airport, Paul Perry is with us. Paul? Good evening.
Good evening. So, this is before you tonight. You've already received or approved these existing leases. What this is an addendum to the existing lease for both 2 private hangars that are built at the airport. They're almost completed. And what it's dealing with is the way our leasing system was set up originally was to have construction leases, short-term construction leases, so that during the process of building, going through planning, going through design, things of that nature, it didn't count towards their long-term or count off their long-term lease. Once that was converted over, which you approved to a long-term lease, which is for a total of 30 years through different addendums and additions. In that process, they found that, or the owners of the property found a part that they felt was not, they were not aware of, which was a 3% annual increase to their lease. We found through a meeting with the airport authority and some different discussions where they brought it up. Part of that came through in the process of when they came before the airport authority the first time versus when things were approved. The authority changed some policies and miscommunication. They felt through their communication between the different leases, that the airport authority asked that there be a go ahead and go with the addendum to remove that particular lease, leave the square foot price, but just remove the annual increase based on that communication mishap, whatever you want to call it. They felt it was good practice on behalf of the airport to go with the, and so at the end of the 20-year term, there will be an adjustment made at the end of the 20 years versus making it across the 20 years. And then adjustment would be made at the end of 5 years, and adjustment from that point forward would be made on an annual basis.
Everybody understand what Paul's talking about? that
So you
increase.
can make an adjustment every 5 years, but you're not locked into the 3% annual, is that what?
It's not every 5, the first terms are 20 years. So the regular annual price will be set for 35 cents a square foot for the first 20 years. And then when it comes time to renegotiate the terms at that time, you can make adjustments as necessary at that time, and they'll be set for 5 years, and then after that, for the last 5 years, it's adjusted on an annual basis.
Is that 3%? Is that for anybody that builds hangars? I'm talking about, are we making a special exception for these folks, or would that be for anybody else that's gonna build hangars?
Other leases right now that we currently have the 3% built in. We found in discussions with the airport authority at the time, that we were having issues where rents had not been adjusted for, at one point in time, 12 years.
Yeah.
And so when it was adjusted to fair market value, it was a major sticker shock. And so the idea at the time, to avoid having to deal with a lot of issues, they wanted to go ahead and they thought it would make sense to put in built-in increases so that nobody would be unaware when something like that would happen. And so that was the idea for most leases from this point forward. Everything else has been taken care of. The communication's been taken care of. All the necessary templates have been adjusted and things like that. So all future will have, ground leases will have that in there as a percentage increase, a set percentage increase by policy of the airport authority.
It's a good idea to update it.
All the leases now have the 3% escalation clause in it. This happened at a time when we were right in the middle of making this policy. They came and discussed the hangar, then we made the policy, then they came and said, yes, we want to go with it. And so we did the construction lease for them, but because they came in the middle, things were different from their first meeting to their second meeting. And so the airport board, we're gonna be entering into basically a 30-year lease with them. So the airport board thought in this instance, because of the misunderstanding and the miscommunication, it was best to just take it out of these two leases. But all the other leases will have it in it, and everybody's, receiving a correct copy of the leases with it in there.
Why would we want to treat this one leaseor different than all the other leases? All the rest of them have a 3% clause, which is standard, cost of living goes up for everybody. We look at that every year as a council for raises for employees, and you have it in your other leases now. Why are we taking it out of this?
It's the leases that came after Quigley and DeWeese's leases. These two leases happened during the transition. And it's those that have come after. We've had 4 leases since then. And those were put in place and the 3% were set. But these two initial leases were during the transition time. So they showed to the airport authority that it was not clarified with them that increase was put in there. So the authority just felt it was good practice to not show the current increase.
The transition time you're talking about was like years, not months, is my understanding. I know one of those hangars was before COVID was talked about, and then they had a material issue, getting the materials, and it literally took years for it to get to the stage that it is now. So that transition you're talking about wasn't like 1 month to the next. It was over multiple years.
Well, on the Quigley and DeWeese lease, that was sort of over like a 3-month process where some of that was sort of messed with as far as the policy change. They came in. What happened is the reason why the authority felt it was an issue that needed to be addressed was because we had multiple people coming in asking for land leases, and so they wanted to address it. And then when they came back, the policy had changed. The original, we have 3 private hangar leases prior to those 2 that have no increases in there at all, and they have a smaller dollar amount. So a lot of the dollar amount was changed, and that increase came about. So we've upped it quite a bit. Some of those, every time somebody takes the next step, the prices are up higher because we're running out of space.
But it has taken them longer to build. So from the time we instituted the policy till the time we get to where they are going into a long-term lease has been dragged out.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
part
they
has
agreed
been
to the
true.
new, they agreed to the price, just not the escalation.
Right,
Right.
right.
And if you look at the rule of 72 at 3%, it's basically gonna double over 24 years. So at the end of the 20 years, they're probably gonna be twice what they're paying now.
Yes.
So, but putting that in the record, that might be a number you're looking for.
Right,
It is.
Sometimes I won't be here. But, you know.
Any other comments or questions? Paul? I'll stay right where you are.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll move to the next item. There's your airport lease, and would you tell us about that, please?
Okay, as Mr. Collins alluded to earlier, there was a closing of last Thursday of the property behind Celebration Feed. And that was a piece of property that we've been acquiring to acquire for quite some time, and finally we're able to make that, close. And with that, Azure needs that piece of property for two different things. One is for material, such as 5,000 cubic yards of fill material for the property they're developing right now. But in turn, what that does is lowers the piece of ground to a usable level so that they can make a parking lot, for a temporary parking lot for the phase for MTSU. When I say temporary for them, it's like 4 years. So we're looking at a 4-year term on this particular lease. And the reason why they only need 4 years is because this feeds the first phase. And then once this second phase, and third phase they start building their own parking lots with the main hub or the main school, then this parking lot will not be necessary. They'll have their own parking for students and things of that nature. This parking lot's being built large enough just to handle the necessary first phase that's underway right now. With that, at the end of 4 years, they're turning over to us a piece of land that's been leveled, been paved, utilities have been brought into. So with that, they had addressed that and brought before the airport authority a request for 1.31 acres at 25 cents a square foot. They will be in charge of all improvements. The city does no improvements to that piece of property. It's all theirs. And they do have the 3% escalation clause because we've added that to all leases since then. And so they would have that over that time frame. So that by the time we're done with the short-term lease of 4 years, we will almost have paid for that piece of property. And in turn, what we get at the end of that 4 years is basically a paved parking lot that allows us to do multiple things with, either put more hangars on it, put plating ports on it, add a taxiway to it, and so it's a whole lot less of an expense. Right now, it's not accessible by airplane, so it's only usable for automobiles. And so we would be able to, at much less expense, be able to develop that piece of property in 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Everybody clear? Glad to get that one done, aren't you?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Paul. All right, number 6 has been removed from the agenda. So number 7 is a de-annexation request, and this is Dr. Baum's property, 1320 Union Street and Jennings Lane. Tom, will you tell us about that?
Yes.
This is Tom Batchelor, our brand new, well, it doesn't look brand new, planning.
I'm already getting beaten up.
Oh, sorry, Paul.
So, this de-annexation request is a business item, and it is a request whether council wants to send it to planning commission.
Right.
This was recently annexed, earlier this year. There's 2 parcels, number 14 here, and then, the other one is 120. 14 is 48.73 acres, and the other little slice there is 18.19 acres. If it is de-annexed, it'll revert back to county agriculture 1. Currently, the property is R1, I should say. So the annexation was performed in January 2024.
Right.
Both properties were, and it was, earlier this year, there was an attempt to rezone it from R1 to R2. That rezoning failed. Pre-existing development at the time, there's a single-family home and some barns on the property. There has been no development since. So you can see there's the R1 property. This is on the left-hand side, it's the zoning map. And then on the right-hand side, it shows what the future land use map calls for, which is the low-density residential. And as far as the character area, we're looking at low density. But if it's de-annexed, it'll just go back to agriculture 1. The applicant or the property owner's representative mentioned that Dr. Baum wanted to maintain it as a basically keep it as a farm.
Okay. Okay. I was wondering what they might be doing, but it's going back to agricultural
Yes.
zoning under the county's zoning,
Yes. Yes.
correct? Will this be on our tax? Since it was annexed in January, it won't be on the taxes for,
Well, I think it depends on where it is January 1st, but I would have to check with Rhonda.
okay. Questions, folks? You know exactly what we're talking about. We've discussed that one back and forth about the development there. Okay. All right. Thank you, Tom. If you would stay about what
Yes,
you
I'm
are.
on the next few items there.
You want me to read it? Ordinances, second final reading, public hearing. An ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to approve to preserve at Lexington Cove, PUD, PUD, regulating pattern book as recommended by the Shelbyville Municipal Planning Commission and repeal any ordinance or part of an ordinance in conflict herewith.
And this will be the final reading as well as the public hearing. If everybody's purposes on the location, legit. Okay, I don't know where the green dot went to. Okay, so we're looking at this. I think that's guys. Well, anyway, it is just northeast of Union Street and Vine Street. Also touches on to Morton Street as the development area. We got 274 residential units, 180 residential lots, 44 townhomes, and 50 cottages. The current zoning, you have multiple ones, but it'll be combined into a PUD. If it's final. This, according to the future land use map, this is an appropriate rezoning. And during the time when we were reviewing it, you see the areas of the cottages, single family, as well as the townhome. And if you remember where the townhomes is, because on my last rezoning application in this agenda, you'll see that come up again. This particular PUD had 5 total connections, which was exemplary. And so during the traffic study, there were, let's see, let me go to the traffic study. These are all the intersections that were analyzed, and because of the number of connections, we only had 2 areas that were required to be improved because of the traffic's impact. This went back to the Planning Commission a second time to analyze the connection on Trinity, and the Planning Commission believed that from this, because that there was no, or I shouldn't say there was no, the impact to it would be either mitigated through the improvements, or it wouldn't create a serious adverse impact. As you can see, they have 31% total open space. And here are some of the products, townhomes, the cottages, and the single family.
And we discussed this one over and over. Any questions?
Any additional questions?
Comment? Okay. All right, thank you, Tom. All right, new business. Ordinances, first reading. A, an ordinance of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, to approve the rezoning of approximately 5.17 acres, plus or minus, owned by DCC Strategic Realty Partners, LLC, located on the east side of Barksdale Lane, south of Blue Ribbon Parkway, and shown on Exhibit A, the final plat, below from residential R3, medium density residential, to residential R4, high density residential district, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. This received an unfavorable recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Okay. So we're talking about 5.17 acres, and this property is just north of Bedford Manor. And this has gone back to the Planning Commission a couple of times on the request of council, and then was deferred from last meeting. At the June 27th Planning Commission meeting, it was there was an unfavorable recommendation by Planning Commission because it didn't align well with our policies. And there were, you could see the substandard intersection as well as the condition of Barksdale Lane. At the second meeting, the Planning Commission reaffirmed their unfavorable recommendation. And during the last couple of meetings, I described the barriers to the rezoning, that it doesn't meet our future land use map character area. The intersection with substandard as well as Barksdale Lane is in very poor condition. Since that time, and as you can see on August 8th, the applicant was coordinating with Shelbyville Power and Public Works to improve that intersection. And Scott St. John will speak more on that tonight since they actually have drawings for that. Tonight, I edited some of the slides only because you've heard this a couple of times. And so what I did was I added a few more slides just to show if the council does support a rezoning. And I'll speak a little bit more on that aspect of it, because I think that from part of the rezoning process, Planning Commission, as well as staff, we look at the regulations and we look at the conditions of the area as it is. So we'll review the existing land use map. We'll look at the future land use map, as well as what the neighborhood condition is like. As far as taking into consideration other matters that are maybe future improvements, that is something that city council can take into consideration. So you're not going to always have consistency where you'll get a favorable or an unfavorable recommendation, and then city council can weigh other considerations for to contradict Planning Commission. So in this case, the applicant, there were a couple of comments from the applicants in the past. It was in the last city council meeting, and no doubt that they are some of the aspects of what they were stating are true. We are having greater growth. There is a need for multifamily. And then also that the products that are being developed are a lot higher quality. So in my part, what I wanted to show that if the council does consider rezoning, we do have already within our regulations ways to buffer the different uses. Because I would say that if I go back to this slide here, you can see that this area doesn't quite fit neatly in future land use map. As far as the multifamily, the Bedford Manor, I don't think that there was a mistake in the zoning, but I think that our future land use map is not, I don't think that it provides enough specificity in terms of there's areas with the edges where there's transition areas that might not be one way or the other. And in this one, that's why I had to point out all the different aspects of this neighborhood. And if there is decision to support a rezoning, there are ways further down the line that the planning commission cannot consider now, but they can consider at a later time, during the subdivision application. And that goes to the, multifamily standards that are already in our design standards. And, you can see, I just, added a few slides about how to transition. One is natural, man-made, or a mix of both. And then there's many ways to do that. And then, I will go ahead and turn this over to Scott St. John, who would like to speak on the improvements of that intersection.
Good evening, Scott.
Good evening, thank you. That's the maps out there. Scott St. John Engineering, representing Greg and Lisa Curl, who are here with us tonight if there's questions for them. This property, we have been working on it for a while. We've acquired some easements for water and sewer, worked closely with Shelbyville Power. We've shown on the preliminary site plan large detention, so we're able to really address any stormwater issues on the property. As Tom mentioned in the presentation, transitional buffers, whatever we need to do during the site plan process to buffer and provide those transitional buffers to adjacent properties. That is not a problem. There's room, there's the ability to do that. So it really kind of comes down to a lot of the discussion on the intersection improvements at Withorn and Barksdale. And on your plan, what is highlighted there is what is proposed to correct the current Y intersection that has safety concerns. The decision-making process of a driver when it gets to that intersection is difficult and creates an unsafe condition. And so the girls have readily said, hey, what can we do? This is preliminary discussions from our end, a layout that shows reconfiguring that intersection, shows removing the existing pavements that form the Y, creating a 90-degree intersection here with good site visibility in both directions. Girls have met with Shelbyville Power. Mr. Dickens related to relocation of a power pole that's in that intersection now that will need to be removed. And there's some options that are on the table that will advance as we work forward on this project here. But also related to paving back to their intersection with new pavement, widening that roadways to make that new realigned roadway function safely and properly. So that they are proposing to do this improvement in the intersection and do the work that's shown on the plan here if we can get an R4 rezoning related to the property. So I'll pause there and answer any questions.
There is going to be a traffic study, is that correct?
There will be, as we get beyond zoning, moving into site plan process on the project. Yes, that's common, that staff will require us to do a traffic study. That just has not come up in the process yet.
So Mr. Curl has, as you stated, agreed to do certain things, but after the traffic study, there could be additional things. There could be just a totally different plan.
There could be general, there could be options. There could be enhancing what we've preliminarily laid out. But the main intent is to show that the Curls are, willing and able to address these concerns. But yes, definitely if a traffic study generates other improvements, then we will have to assess that, work towards, meeting those improvements.
To me, this needs to go back to planning commission. This council does not need to stop over speaking to planning commission. It should go with the planning commission. send it back to planning commission, if we get their blessing, bring it back, but I don't think it's the council's part to overshadow what they've done. This may change their idea on it, you know what I'm saying?
What are some of the reasons the planning commission, I know that we do have a member here, but what are some of the reasons the planning commission is objecting to this?
The majority of the planning commission, and this slide shows it, is that this neighborhood, for one, it doesn't meet the R4, sorry, the future land use map for the mixed residential district. R4 is not one of the zoning for that. R3A is, but there are criteria under R3A. And, maybe R3A could work, because typically one of the standards is that it's on the right of way, you have infrastructure. The other item is that it's next to a higher density use, and you can see Bedford Manor is to the south of it. That's a higher density use. That's a possibility as well. But as far as what their concern was, and why they supported or recommended unfavorable, had to do with, I guess that what I call the barriers to rezoning is the future land use map. It's not consistent with that, and then the neighborhood is predominantly, you have single family to the north, and the only area that shows what would be a multifamily uses to the south, which it does abut to it. But it was predominantly that the planning commission, and I can't speak for them, I'll just speak my thoughts on it, is that if you're going to make changes or deviate, I should say, from the future land use map as well as comprehensive plan, then there should be a standard for the deviation. And there isn't any. So that's the point, is that they err on the side of conservative. I don't know if that helps out or.
So the 52 units, Scott, is that?
That's what's shown preliminarily on this R4 layout, yes.
Any feelings, council?
I'm not sure about bouncing it back to the planning commission. I feel like they're going to be consistently and unfavorable on this. Something,
I don't think so with the way the zoning is. Do you see a change in that?
Well, I'll say this, that the planning commission has to base their decisions on regulations. Their adopted plans, the comprehensive plan, the future land use map, they have to base it on some type of standard. And so if it goes back, more than likely you'll have the same result. Because we cannot consider future plans like the intersection as well as any type of improvements, or even the buffering. They don't look at those future items. It only looks at what the plan is as it is. And that's why when it comes to council, there's that opportunity to take into account other items that are future.
are we sure that we stay consistent with everyone in this future land use map? It's not jumping around from developer to developer or issue, situation to situation. And it's always consistent, huh?
I'm always consistent. I can only speak to myself. There's going to be gray areas that have to take into account. It's not going to be a straight yes or no. I can show you the next item, which is a hole in one, a shoe in. But as far as consistency, that was the purpose of, in the staff report, providing more information of the analysis of how we get to where, the conclusion. It's not based, whenever I analyze things, it is analytical. It's not a descriptive, coming to a description at the end. It's based on the analysis, so.
And this is 52 units. It's kind of a mixed use. I think Airbnb, is a part of this development. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what the applicant had sent in the
Yeah.
email about that. That is going to be Airbnbs. That was one of the options.
Very much needed here. 52 units, not a lot of units. And this intersection has been a scary intersection, for a long time. It's just been there forever. And this may be a great means.
It is an opportunity.
For
Yes, sorry.
getting this straightened out. I think, you know, with a study, see what might happen. I see going forward with it, but not sending it back to planning commission.
Anyone else?
That's my opinion.
Anybody else just follow? Okay, it looks like we have one yay and no others.
It's gonna be on the agenda for
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll,
It'll come on the agenda.
yes, it will automatically, these items automatically roll over. The discussion items may or may not be on your agenda, but anything that's an ordinance or a resolution automatically appears on your business meeting agenda, and you will have to vote at that time, one way or the other.
We'll come up for vote next.
Do we have photos or anything of the way, the outlook of this at all?
Okay.
How it
The
will
development,
look when
yeah.
it's developed, how it will look when it's developed is what she's asking for, I believe.
There is a concept plan for it. I think I left it in here. Maybe I did. No, I didn't. I can bring that up, but there is a concept plan for it that was shown at the last several meetings. But I can include it back into the slide. That way show what it looks like.
Something for us to think about when it comes up for a vote, okay?
And question,
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, B, an ordinance of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee to approve the rezoning of approximately 0.18 plus or minus acre owned by DCC Strategic Realty Partners LLC located at the corner and intersection of Woodbury Street and Noblet Street, south of Colorado Boulevard, and shown on Exhibit A and B, the final plat below from commercial C2, general business district to residential R3, medium density residential district, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith.
Okay. So this property is in the core character area. Currently zoned C2. Back in 2015, it was subdivided and, I believe, it meets the standard for an R3, which is the zoning that is being requested. As you can see from the future land use map, R3 is, any type of mixed residential is appropriate in this district. So it meets all the standards of it, and then when you look at the existing neighborhoods, to the north of that property is a duplex, to the east is single family, and at south and southwest are also single family residential. And so the planning commission recommended a favorable recommendation to rezone to R3 to allow for construction of single family homes.
Any comments or thoughts from anyone? Most of that area around there is residential.
Yes, and that larger parcel, let's see. I can't seem to get it on that one.
So there's no commercial right there?
This larger parcel here, if you can see it just to the northeast, is actually, there's a concept in already for that. I think it's 8 or 9 townhomes.
Okay.
So, and that should be coming before next month.
Yeah. Okay? Any thoughts, comments on that? Changing that from C2 to R3,
That's correct, sir.
correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, that'll be on for us to vote on during our business meeting, okay? All right, no comments. C is an ordinance of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee to approve the rezoning of approximately 6.7 plus or minus acres owned by Donald and Jessica White, located on the west side of Morton Street, southwest of Quarry Street, and shown on Exhibit A below from residential R3, medium density residential district, to residential R3, medium, is that supposed to be 3A?
R3A, yes,
Okay,
sir.
doesn't have A on my paperwork. Residential R3A, medium density residential district, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. Okay, Tom?
Okay, so this is 6.7 acres, and I don't know what happened, but it didn't save my change on the concept. During the planning commission meeting, Scott St. John, who represented the property owners, had mentioned that the owners are actually looking to do a townhome development that is similar to the Lexington Cove, but to the north that you see is adjacent to it. This was what was presented in the application, which were duplex development. I just included it only because that was what was in the application. The future land use map to the right shows this as our favorite mixed density residential character area. There are certain criteria that's required for rezoning to an R3A. It's currently R3. The R3A will increase the zoning of or density of the property. The Lexington Cove PUD to the north is a townhome. That's the townhome neighborhood. When you analyze the density of that those townhomes, it's very consistent. It's consistent with R3. So when you look at the R3A, in this case, only one of the conditions of the criteria were met. And that was, I think it was, has utility in the area. And because it was inconsistent with the future land use map and for this type of rezoning, the planning commission wanted to, or provided an unfavorable recommendation for this rezoning application. And I didn't know if you wanted to speak on this one, Scott?
Go over that one more time for the council, the difference in an R3 and an R3A. Just to clarify that for the council, please.
So in the R3 zoning district, single family is permitted as well as duplex. Single family lot size is 7,500 square feet. Duplexes are 15,000 square feet, and the minimum area per family is 7,500 for both. And the R3A has duplexes and multifamily, and multifamily is considered quadruplexes, triplexes. And the minimum area for multifamily is 15,000 square feet, but where you get the density is the minimum area per family is 5,000 versus the R3, which is 7,500.
Right.
And then multifamily is permitted in the R3A versus in the R3, which is duplexes, is the highest you can go as far as density.
And the connection to Lexington Cove, does the street go straight through this development we're talking about, or is there a cul-de-sac at the end of it?
This one has, well, it was proposed as a duplex development. That was the original design. It
Right.
showed a cul-de-sac. So there was no connection to Lexington Cove,
Okay.
but it would just be one entrance onto Morton Street.
Morton Street, yeah.
And during the planning commission meeting, the applicant's representative explained that the rear section of this property is there's some challenges to development of it. So that's why they were wanting to do the front section, which is 3 point some odd acres, to do townhomes, which is where they would get the density. And that would be similar to the, density of, the Lexington Cove HUD. So here's another one there's some variations in the, what is proposed and, or what planning commission is recommending versus what the applicant is proposing.
No changes in detention areas or green spaces or anything like that between?
No,
3 and 3A?
Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So the, let's see, let me go back to the plan here. You can see in this larger, almost, I believe it's almost 3 acres or so that would remain as green space area. Yeah, for some reason it doesn't shine on this one.
Since you got promoted, you gonna buy you a new light.
I don't know, maybe it's because it being right in my eye last time.
Questions, comments?
So did you initially say that they're proposing to put townhomes in here?
That was their thought, is to actually mirror or make it similar to the Lexington Cove to the north and do townhomes.
So if they make it similar, getting back to your analysis that you sent out, the PUD to the north has basically 5.3 units per acre.
Yes.
If we rezone it to 3A, it could be as little as 7.3.
Yeah, 7 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 point something.
Because
it takes into account the entire 6 acres. Because we're reviewing it as basically what's there. And initially in the application, it was stated as 3 point something acres. And in reality, it's 6.7. So I have to base my calculations off of 6.7 acres and not the 3 acres.
And since it's not a PUD, we don't have a view of what they're gonna look like.
No, sir. And technically, if they wanted to do a PUD, it is one of the standards in our future land use map. And for this character area, residential PUD is another option.
Right.
This butts right up against Lexington Cove.
Yes, sir.
Wonder how they feel about that.
Having townhomes?
Okay, no further questions? We'll move to resolutions. A, the resolution of the mayor and city council of Shelbyville, Tennessee, authorizing an official delegation to the 2024 Governor's Conference in Knoxville, Tennessee for October the 17th and 18th, 2024, and providing for the attendance and expenditures of that delegation. Lisa, would you update us, please?
Yes, sir. This is just a standard, resolution that we do to provide for, whoever goes to the governor's conference so that we can reimburse them their expenses, which just would be their, mileage and stuff. If you haven't already told Lori that you're going and you want to go, please make sure to let her know as soon as possible so she can make sure to have your, reservations and stuff taken care of.
Everybody clear on that? Okay. All right, business items, surplus. Now I've got Lisa's name there since Lori's not with us tonight.
Surplus. Yes, I got it right here. I'm gonna just basically read it off of here because that's how much I know about it. The first item we're asking to surplus is from the police department. It is a lot of bicycles. I think they get bicycles picked up here and there that get left. So they have a lot of them that they want to sell, and we're gonna surplus those through govdeal.com. Then they are requesting from the park to surplus for scrap parts and metal a John Deere Z997R diesel mower. It is not operable. And in order for it to become so, it would need a transmission replacement and a drive shaft replacement. So the most value is to keep the usable parts and recycle the remaining for metal. Then the final one is a request to surplus as a special exception to be sold to the Bedford County Sheriff's Department per their request, a police vehicle. It's a 2014 Dodge Charger K9 unit. And we did receive a letter from Sheriff Austin Swing requesting the surplus. They have set the cost for that at $3,500, and that's based on some cars that we sold them through surplus through a special exception back a few months ago. So that covers all the surplus work.
Okay, all right. Anybody have any comments on that? Okay, all right. Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, sir.
Purchasing and bid items. A, an option to renew. This is a photography service for our sports leagues. Trevor, would you let us know about that? Or new director of Recreation and Parks? Do you need to tell us about the price? Is there any changes on that or anything?
No changes, Ms. Mayor. This is the last year that they can choose to renew. The contract is staying the same, where they're giving us 15% of all their sales.
Please, thank you, Trevor.
They're giving us 15% of all their sales. This costs the city nothing. We're just getting that back for both soccer and for basketball.
Okay. All right. That's important to get your picture taken when you're playing on those ball teams.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Parents and all that. That's very good. Very good. And there's no increase. We like that.
No, yeah, no.
How often is that bid out?
But there is, it bids out once every, it bids out once every 3 years. And when it goes to bid out, they get an option to renew for 2 more years. So this is that third and last year.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments on that? Okay, appointments for tonight is the next item, and we have none. Other business. Is there any other business that we need to take care of tonight in this study session? Had a good walking horse celebration. I hope everybody had a great time. It was a good thing. Announcements, do we have any announcements to make? Mr. Collins, Lisa? Okay. Council? Okay, if no announcements, then I'll call this meeting to be adjourned. Thank you for coming, folks.